Hey guys, Dead About On at 3 here back once again, and tonight I'm going to be doing another movie review, and the movie that I decided to review tonight is actually one of my personal favorite horror sequels. This one is definitely up there for me, like other films like Phantasm 2 or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, or sequels that I think really live up to the original and are actually really good, decent sequels. But the movie I'm going to be reviewing is Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice. And this was one movie that I used to rent a lot next to the first one, and this movie really stuck with me as a young kid, when I was younger. But basically, the movie it takes place a year after the original murders, and all the victims are now being basically discovered by the police and the townspeople of Gatlin. And what they're trying to do is they're basically trying to send all the children off out of their town and put them in foster homes, basically. And they're trying to send them off on buses too. I think Hemingford is where they're going to and everything. But basically, as the movie really follows a reporter named John, and he's basically he's kind of the laughing stock of the news crew that he works with. He doesn't really get that much respect. And he's traveling with his 19-year-old son, Danny, who's kind of a delinquent. He doesn't like being there. He's upset that him and his father, they've always had differences because his father and his mother recently got divorced. He basically, and he's really just had that against his father. So when they go into the town, of course, Danny's not thrilled to be there at all. But basically, the father John, he's trying to talk to people and get news on it, and he ends up running into a woman who runs a bed and breakfast, and she actually takes in one of the children from Gatlin named Micah, and basically she gives Danny and John a place to stay, and basically John is trying to talk to Micah, trying to ask him what happened in the field, and he doesn't really talk about it. He just sits there and says, I saw the corn, things like that, and that's basically the opening. But as the movie goes on, in the first night that and as the movie goes on, of course you notice a change in Micah. During the first night of the first night that John and Danny are staying there, Danny notices that Micah is actually out in the cornfield, and he's basically looking for the group of kids, which is basically where they gather now. None of them are killing anybody anymore. They're basically, they're like normal kids now. They're not under the control of He Who Walks Behind the Rose in the first film, and of course Isaac's dead. So Isaac's dead, so they really have no control. So now they're really, of course they're upset that they murdered their parents, and it's really affecting them now. But while Micah's out in the middle of corn trying to look for the group that are basically gathered around a cornfield, of course, He Who Walks Beyond the Rose makes an appearance once again, takes control of Micah, and now Micah is the new leader of the group. And he basically, of course, confronts all the kids and tells them to go off, and then the blood begins. That's basically the main storyline. Now I want to talk a lot about some of the stuff that I actually really enjoyed with this film. First off, there's two characters that stick out. The first one is this old lady who, she is completely, she's basically almost driven crazy over this. She's terrified. What she's doing is that she's actually got her house up, and she's basically taking her house and moving out of Gatlin. And in the opening scene when all the kids were being put on the buses, she goes over to the sheriff and she's like, "These children are evil. These children are completely, people crazy. They're gonna kill us all. Everybody needs to get out." And she just this crazy old lady. Of course, she ends up, having a faith, and then her sister comes in who's in a wheelchair, and she actually has a pretty cool death scene in it as well. It's actually one of my favorite death scenes. I really don't want to give too much of it away, but basically there's a scene where you see her and she's in a wheelchair and she's going down a sidewalk, and she's rolling down there, and she has one of those electronic wheelchairs, and the kids come up behind her and they slowly just walk up behind her, and they have one of those remote control cars, and somehow Micah has been able to make the remote control car, make the controller for the car then control her chair and sends her in front of a huge semi truck. That was really cool. Another character that I really did enjoy is this old Indian guy named Red Bear, who basically tries to help John and takes him out into the woods where he begins to talk about, old legends and things that happened. And you actually, in this movie, it actually gives a lot of good reasons why the children did the killing. Because as he goes on, he starts talking about how that back somewhat years ago, like hundreds of years ago, people used to farm in that land. People used to farm in that land, and they used to all have children. And apparently, the people got crazy, so the children ended up repenting and killing their parents. And they actually assumed that whatever caused them to kill their parents back then is what's causing them to kill them now. The old Indian guy, Red Bear, is actually a really cool character. He's probably my favorite character in the whole film. Yeah, just really a cool guy and everything like that. And plus, I've always liked learning about Indian culture and things like that in school. So it was kind of cool to see him in there, and I really liked that. Also, at the end of the film, there actually is a really cool, peaceful scene at the end. I don't want to give it away, but yeah, there's a lot of really cool death scenes in this. There's one scene where they're actually in a church, and there's a preacher up there, and he does not, and this preacher never shuts up about fornication. Every scene he's in, the first thing he says is fornication. Fornication is so horrible, and you're just over there, and he's really annoying. And there's actually a scene where Micah actually has a little voodoo doll, and I'm not going to tell you what he does with it. All I know is that it happens. There's even one scene where they end up burning on a church, and there's a lot of really good ones. This is definitely out of all the Children of the Corn sequels, this one, the second one, this one, the third one, and the fourth one are definitely the three best Children of the Corn sequels in my opinion. But I think that this one, Children of the Corn 2, is definitely my personal favorite. Like I said, lots of great, like I said, lots of good kills. Music is really good. The acting's really decent. Really good film. There's a lot of things I could talk about that I almost forgot. The character Danny actually meets this girl named Tracy, and they end up starting a bit of a romantic thing. So you got a bit of that in there, but of course it's a horror film, so it kind of gets in the way. But it's a really, really good movie. The special effects are really, really good. I really like them. Pretty decent. Like I said, gore, blood is really good. And the acting, you actually feel for a lot of the characters, and it's a really good, solid sequel. So if you have not seen Children of the Corn 2: The Final Sacrifice, I definitely recommend picking it up. Like I said, this is part of the 3-pack. You can also get it separately. I think that I would have rather gotten 2 and 3 separately, because I already have 4 separately on DVD. So sooner or later, I might just rebuy 2 and 3 and just sell this sometime. But yeah. Anyway, guys, that was my review for Children of the Corn 2: The Final Sacrifice. If you have not seen it, I definitely recommend picking it up. It's a really great sequel. And I hope you guys like my review. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys later.